If you happen to be a Frank Lloyd Wright fan and you have a little time, we do have a train tour that will take you out to see some of his nicest designs. As you look at these beautiful skyscrapers now, you know, it's kind of hard to believe that this river was really so polluted, so ugly. It was nothing but old warehouses. And think about how they're all looking at the river now when everybody else wanted to not look at it at all. This warehouse we're coming up to on the left is a beautiful example of an early Chicago school-style warehouse. This is the Great Lakes Building by early Chicago architects Howard and Root, and it's from 1910. We say that it expresses its frame because anytime, anywhere you see red brick, if you peeled off that red brick, you would see the steel frame underneath. Another warehouse coming up on the left. This is from 1958. It's the General Growth Properties building, designed by Graham Anderson, Probst & White. It's actually a former Morton Salt warehouse. Now I kind of worry about this structure because property along the river now is very expensive. And look how long and low this structure is. We kind of worry about how long it really is going to be here. Something unique about it is the fact that it's trimmed in stainless steel. Stainless steel was a World War II product, and all before the war was completed in the 30s and the 1940s, there was no aluminum or steel for any sort of building project other than the war effort. So I think they may have trimmed the building because they could. Now we're stepping back to that Art Deco age, 1929. This is the Lyric Opera building. Graham Anderson, Probst & White once again. And if the other Art Deco buildings have looked like armchairs, this one looks like a sofa. It is huge. Notice there are tall towers on either end. The developer thought it would be a good idea to help support the opera by putting office space that they could lease in the building as well. And it was a great idea. Except the opera opened with Aida 6 days after the stock market crashed in 1929, and both the office buildings and the opera went bankrupt pretty quickly. Now check out the corner offices on this building on the left. You can see them on both ends. Can you see how many they've designed? Definitely not a Montgomery Ward building, is it? This is the former Chicago Mercantile Exchange building. It is postmodern by Fujikawa Johnson. And notice the tall towers on either end, and then that lower section in the middle. They gave a nod to the Lyric Opera building that we just passed. The same massing or shape of the building as that Art Deco structure. And you get another look at all the corner offices. And now I'm going to shift you to the right side. We have two identical Miesian-style buildings right in a row. There are 4 gateway buildings in a row here. That means the gateway to the west side of the city. These two structures are in the style of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Van der Rohe was an architect in Germany and came to the United States in the 1930s, fleeing the Nazi oppression. And he believed that less is more. You know, notice the building style is really stripped of any orientation. They do weld narrow little I-beams onto the exterior, which gives a nice texture to the building. But otherwise, they're very plain. They're really celebrating the technology, the use of steel, and new technology available at that time. Now, the third building was from 1971. Notice it's no longer black steel. Mies van der Rohe passed on in 1969, and that kind of allowed architects to loosen up a little bit and not feel like they had to follow that strict adherence to the Miesian style. Now, this little bustle or addition on the end of the building has an exoskeleton, just like that white structure that we saw a little while ago. Whenever you want the interior columns gone, you need to support it from the exterior. This was a former trading floor for the mercantile exchange, and the traders at that time used all these wild hand signals and yelling and screaming to get people's attention. So they didn't want any interior columns. And we've shifted into the 1980s now, into the postmodern period. Still Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. This designer was James DiStefano. And notice how the building has this nice curve to it, anticipating the curve of the river. And the glass is a nice dark green, same as the color of the river. And that glass is actually a bit convex. So when you look at the reflection of buildings in the glass across the river, they kind of have a rippled effect to them, just as the top of the water does as the wind's blowing on it.